am Dougal, and I am a guitarist in Junodream, and we are a 5-piece rock band who want to take over the world in a nice way.
Of course, just in a nice way. You released your latest song, Easy Life, quite recently, relatively recently. What were like the main inspirations behind that track? Were any like key themes you wanted to put across with that one?
Yeah, it's a bit of an interesting one because I think it was the run up to Christmas 2019, and we were sometimes when you're writing, it felt like it's not really going anywhere, and we were all a bit sort of claustrophobic. And then Tom, the other guitarist, started playing what was really the beginning of it and the chorus and whatnot, and then Ed started singing it, and we all kind of cobbled together and sort of came up with the music, and then went to record it, totally screwed it up, went back to record it, made it a lot more slower and kind of atmospheric. And then, so yeah, the kind of the music was there, and then Ed came up with some brilliant lyrics about, I don't know, I guess just the theme is really being sort of isolated and kind of trading real interactions for digital ones, I guess, and kind of finding excuses to not go outside. So really, it was great song about lockdown, which we'd written before lockdown and released after lockdown, which is probably not very good marketing, but I guess it's a little bit like that, just sort of being isolated at home, really.
Nice, yeah. I remember, I think you mentioned about on your Instagram or something about everyone relating to it over lockdown, or many of your songs as well. I think, what was it? Isn't It Lovely to Be Alone? Was another one.
Yeah, that took on a whole new meaning.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was quite funny. But yeah, I guess a lot of our songs, we kind of, it's not like deliberately, it's not supposed to be totally sad. It's kind of meant to be a bit tongue in cheek. It's like, I don't know, I feel like there's quite a lot of funny aspects about modern life, which, you know, things like spending all your time inside and just living on the internet, quite funny. So yeah, it's kind of like tinged. It's like sad, but it's also tinged with like I don't know, a bit of comedy. The main lyricist, and he's very good at that, sort of picking themes and things in life that are kind of contradictory, and we try and make songs around them.
So does he so he's the main like lyrical force in the band, or do other people like contribute, and how much? Or
yeah, so we've got 3 writers, so myself, Tom, the other guitarist, and Ed, the singer. So we basically all kind of write individually, and we all kind of produce tracks, and we'll experiment in our various setups, and then we'll kind of send stuff to the group. This is like how it kind of happens most of the time, and like you know if it's good if people immediately respond and they're like, cool, this is great. You know if it's kind of bad if like 3 hours later someone's like, oh, I haven't got around to listening to this, but I'll check it out. You're like, okay, cool. But yeah, we kind of describe it like I'm the, if you think of a Christmas tree, so I'll kind of, you know, I'll probably put the tree up, so I'll be the tree, like the kind of general face. Tom's the tinsel, so he kind of makes it all look really nice, and Ed's the little singer on top. Yeah. But sometimes that can change as well. So yeah, we basically, like, one of us will have an idea, and the other 2, well, everyone else will basically help finish it. But yeah, I'd say normally if I have some lyrics, they definitely need a lot of tender love and care from Ed to kind of make them mean something. What can I say here? What is appropriate? Wait, let me just, I'm just gonna think. Okay, Limiter is a good example. I really like Limiter because that's a funny one where I think we all kind of chipped into that one where it's like, is kind of there. It was like really kind of soft, but also really loud. So we thought quite funny to like write a song which is like combining like soft and hard. A little bit dodgy, but yeah, we came up with the theme of like being nudged by someone bigger, like a bouncer or something in a nightclub, which is like a hilarious thing to happen on a night out. We're a bit drunk, and like I think we've all been there before, where you're like, nights out are so sort of tribal, aren't they? Because everyone kind of just like gets really drunk, and then it becomes this sort of weird primordial thing where you just try and pull and fight people, basically. Well, that was my experience at uni.
Yeah.
And so but we're not really that way inclined. Like, we're the sort of people who tend to avoid fights at all costs and aren't particularly smooth at pulling. So yeah, we're kind of just observers. But the song is all about someone who gets nudged in a nightclub by someone bigger, kind of like gets this huge injection of rage, like, what was that? And then turns around and realizes that it's someone much bigger than them, and they just pussy out. It's all about like the emotions of kind of, I don't know, like feeling emasculated, also mixed in with being drunk, like entered up frustration, and just being a bit ridiculous on a night out. So I think that's probably my choice there. I think that's like a really funny one, because it's like a micro moment of this sort of all these emotions that can happen from a tiny thing like that. Yeah.
So what are your kind of like plans going forward? Do you reckon you're gonna do like another EP at some point, or do you think it's kind of time as a band that you go on to maybe like starting on an album or a few more singles or anything?
I don't really know what I'm allowed to say here. I mean, I don't really know. That makes me sound more important than I am. What have we got planned? So we just released Easy Life, which was kind of like, I think that was like, it felt like a bit of almost felt like it was meant to go on a last EP, but it just didn't fit. So it was like a sort of in-betweeny single, I guess, and we just really liked it. And the good thing is now, like, you can kind of just release as much as you want, really. You don't have to kind of drop a couple of singles and an album and then tour it. It's like kind of throw anything out whenever you want. So we did that, and there are current quite big plans for a longer release coming out. Not quite an album. That could see some of it this side of the year. Could do. I'm not saying anything.
Maybe,
very
possibly.
But it's going to be amazing, whatever it is. I'm not saying what it is. And we're actually just finishing it up right now. As we speak, we're getting some mixes back, and we're getting some videos together, and we're getting loads of really exciting things. And it's going to be like, if we're here before, I'm signaling with my hand that we're a certain level. We're going to be here. I've just gone up. So yeah,
stepping it up.
This next, we think it's standing up. We're probably, I mean, maybe our fans think we've actually just gone down, but we think it's definitely in the right direction, and it's pretty bold. So we'll see.
Nice. That's exciting. That's exciting to see more stuff coming up. Yeah.
In terms of album, I think we're getting closer to doing an album. Feel like with an album again, because you don't really need. There's no sort of like pressing need to do one, except for your own kind of like artistic need, I guess. And we're only going to do one when we think it's going to be like the best possible thing we can do. So hopefully pretty soon, but we've got to be 100% sure that it's just 10 of the most amazing songs we've got, which work really well together. So we're kind of putting something together already, but I don't know how long it'll take.
What are some of like your favourite bands around, like other bands around like right now? And linked to that, what would your like dream tour partners be? Like if you're seeing a band is around and you're like, I really like what they're doing, who would it be?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I really like Drugstore Romeos. Don't know if you know them.
I've heard of them, but I can't say. I think I've listened to like a few of their songs, but not like enough to really know.
Yeah, well, I'm really excited for them because they've only released a couple of singles, but everything they've released so far is, I don't know, it's just very up our street. It's kind of like a space rocky type thing. The singer's voice is amazing. And yeah, they'd probably, I think I'd love to tour with them. I kind of feel like it would be quite a cool, I guess you kind of, it makes sense when you're touring to go with people who aren't totally different.
Yeah.
And like, it's kind of fun to sort of set a bit of a scene or a mood. So I don't know, I feel like they'd be great because they are like, they're not dissimilar sounds. They're kind of spacey and like, I don't know, it's just that they're just really neat and good. So yeah, Drugstore Romeos, love them. Other than that, upcoming artists. I'm not very good at upcoming artists. I'm terrible about sort of being ahead of the trend of things.
Yeah, no, it's fair enough. It's hard to pick up on people.
Yeah, as soon as I like something, normally it's too late and it's just suddenly mainstream. So yeah. I don't know. There's anyone like sort of space rocky and kind of a bit psychedelic, and I don't know, gigs where it's a bit more like it's an exploration of sound rather than like a big sweaty punk gig or something. It's a little bit more, yeah, like good lights and things, like an experience rather than a sort of, yeah, like a, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I do. I feel like quite a lot of indie gigs and like underground gigs are just like, let's all just smash together while some people bash out some loud guitars. But it's rarer to get the ones where it's sort of like a kind of calmer but like intense atmosphere. But those ones are really good. Yeah.
It's tricky to do though. I think the small venues favour the kind of scratchier guitar punk bands because they are like intense environments. So
yeah, no,
like,
they're great though.
But they don't really favour like if you're trying to be like the Pink Floyd or something like that, because you need great sound system and you need like great lights and stuff. And I don't know. Yeah. So hopefully when we get to like massive level and we're selling out 10,000 cap venues,
Wembley, yeah.
all of the rest, the lights are going to be, and Drugstore Romeos can come with us, or maybe we'll go with them. Probably.
Yeah.
That's how
it's all about those lights, though. We love the lights.
Yeah, it's all about the lights. It's all about the lights. That's literally it. Smoke and mirrors. But yeah, that's our kind of live vibe where we want to be heading.
And what have some of your favourite albums this year been? Any ones that really like caught your eye?
Favorite albums this year? I'm just going to open my Spotify and see. I know Spotify, that's bad, isn't it? Change DC Hero's Death. I loved it. I thought it was really, really good. Kind of, they probably wouldn't like this, but I thought I was getting quite a lot of like Coldplay vibes from it. Like Rush of Blood to the Head. I'm sure they'd probably hate that, but I didn't think it was a bad thing. And so that was brilliant. Sports team song was good fun. I mean, that was they're not like right on the money of what I like to listen to. It's kind of a little bit maybe punky or scratchy for me, but the whole kind of thing around it I thought was great. The artwork's cool. There's some really great tracks on there, like Camel Crew. The lyrics are really cool. So I thought that was really fun. And that, like the whole kind of, the release with Lady Gaga.
Oh, yeah. The drama was amazing. The Twitter, everything.
Yeah, they know how to cook up a storm, and I think that's like, it's actually harder to do than it looks. I mean, we know it's harder to do than it looks because we can't do it ourselves. What was the other one? There's another one which is really good. Sorry's album. Do you know Sorry?
Yeah, no, I've listened to that a ton. That's one of my most listened this year. 95. Incredible album. Yeah, exactly. I thought that was really cool. I mean, they can set that kind of moody vibe thing we were speaking about, which is really cool. Disappointing albums. We want to talk about disappointing albums because I don't know any people personally. Why not?
Strokes one was a heap of turd.
Oh, you weren't a fan of that?
Mate, no, I take that back. We're going to edit that out. I thought that it was too much for me. That like the production and the I don't know, it was just weird. It was like, there wasn't like a single kind of, I'm trying to think of a single track on it, which I was like, yeah, that's fucking banging.
Not even the adults are talking. The first track.
Yeah. I mean, it's okay. There's just like, I don't know. It's been what, like 11 years, 9 years? No, it's been 7 years. It's been 7 years since the last album. I don't know. It just felt, maybe I don't get it. Maybe I just listen to it more. But I thought that was like, I was a little bit disappointed by that.
That's fair enough.
Impala's album. A little disappointed by that.
I didn't listen to that one personally. I really enjoyed Currents, but all I heard from this was like, oh, it's like Currents, but a bit worse. So I've just been listening to other stuff.
Yeah. Currents with the bongos, I'd say. Yeah, not quite as, I don't know. Yeah, so those are my 2 disappointing albums this year, I'd say. Was it the Strokes one? Might have been last year, though. I can't remember.
No, Strokes was this year. It just feels like so long ago. I think it's back in like March or something. But it's just here.
We've lived 10 lives between now and then. Yeah, but yeah, no, I think we're in a good. I think England, or Britain, and not England, but Britain in general, is in a pretty good place in terms of like the upcoming talent. I think we've got some great artists coming through. Amazing.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, British Isles as well, because the Irish bands around right now are incredible. You know, Fontaine's DC, Murder Capital. I mean, there's many more as well. But those are my 2.
They're really pulling their weight, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely.
From the shore, pray that the violence.
Get back to the band a bit. What have been some of your like favourite gigs you've done as a band, and like most memorable ones?
Memorable. We're going to do bad gigs first, because they're the most memorable. Most memorable. We were talking about this the other day. Actually, we just started a band podcast. It's kind of funny. It's like we sort of did it because I don't know why we did it. It's just content, isn't it? But it's been quite funny. But we're reminiscing about shit gigs, because there aren't any gigs this year. Our funniest gig moments. And Couple came up. First one, Barfly. So we've been playing for quite a long time. So we've had a couple of different band names before. We've been there when we were like 14, and we're now sort of 24, 25. So it's been nearly a decade. But with Junodream's only been going for 2 years. Anyway, before that, we've had like loads of really embarrassing gig stories. And one of them was playing the Barfly. I don't know if you've ever been there. It's called something else now.
I can't say I have. Where is it?
In Camden. Anyway, very famously known as the Barfly, now called something else, but I can't remember what it's called. Anyway, so so just off stage, like you've got to walk down the stage, and there are 2 doors. Okay, one door takes you to the backstage. Okay, so you walk up there, go to the backstage. The other door takes you into a cupboard, very small cupboard. Yeah. Anyway, so we used to do this very, very cringe thing where we'd finish a show in front of, like 30 people or whatever, and treat it like we just finished Glastonbury, and we'd sort of do this whole thing where we walk off stage and come back on for the encore, which is always painfully awkward. There's terrible. Anyway, so finished our terrible set, and we all sort of really chuffed with ourselves, and we strolled off the stage, and Ed, the singer, leads us off stage in what he thinks is the backstage, but it's actually the cupboard. So we'll blindly follow him into the cupboard. The cupboard's so small that when our drummer gets there, Jay, he can't actually fit in, because we've all sort of piled into the cupboard and realised, fuck, we're in the fucking cupboard. And everyone in the crowd sort of looking at us like, what? Why? They're in a cupboard? It was so small that we all, instead of turning around, we had to reverse out the cupboard as well.
Oh my gosh. So wait, so was the cupboard like visible from the crowd? Or
yeah, well, it was just sort of off the stage, and like the visible thing was the fact that we all kind of went in and you could still see us. So by process of production, I think you probably assumed that it was just, we just sort of strolled into a cupboard, especially because our drummer couldn't even fit, so he was just still there. So that was terrible. Another terrible one was again, same band, same time, similar time. We played at what's the record shop called in East London? The really famous one.
Rough Trade East.
Cafe 101 or whatever it's called, attached to that. It's like a downstairs. We played there, and it was really good. So that first gig, there was a guy on before us called, I can't remember what his name was, but he's like this sort of Irish guy, and he was really charismatic, and sort of like we were all sort of really pumped to watch him play, and like towards the end of the set he just goes, "Who's drinking?" and everyone goes, "Ah, fuck yeah, we're all drinking, yeah." And he's like, "Ah," and everyone's just so happy. So Ed gets up on stage immediately. First thing he says before we even started playing our mellow set, he just goes, "Who's drinking?" Absolutely silent. Someone at the front just goes, "Yeah, it's a bar. It's a bar."
Oh, gosh.
That was terrible.
Oh,
and then that's Tom, our guitarist, again, the audacity of this. He was trying. So the stage was kind of met with like two pillars either side, and so he had this big solo at the end. Shame on him for trying to do this, really. But he was trying to go round the pillar for his big solo and do the solo in the crowd. It's actually probably quite rock and roll, I suppose. If it was like the 80s, that would be spot on. Anyway, so he's making his way just before his big moment, and he feels this sort of tug, and he realizes that his lead is not nearly long enough, so he gets stuck behind the pillar for his big moment, and that's stay on the stage with the rest of us. So those were our pretty bad stories, and there are a lot more. That's the fun thing about gigging as a band. Unless you're really great to start with, which I'm sure lots of bands are, there's so many bad gig stories. It's kind of funny. And then the good ones, actually, we just played 2 European shows for the first time this year, which is amazing. So we played, I think our favourite gig to date, we played in, it's called Krasnopolski, which is just north of Amsterdam. And the Dutch, so I say it like that because it's Austin Powers quote, but the Dutch are lovely, lovely people, probably the kindest people we've ever met. And they really welcomed us, and there were loads of people at this festival who watched us. We played a great slot and made a load of new fans. So that's probably our favourite show. I think it was just amazing old like aircraft hangar in this field in the countryside of just outside Amsterdam, I guess. And everyone was so nice. It was amazing.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
You mentioned you formed in, what was it, like year 9, 13, 14-ish?
I think it was like doing a GCSE.
GCSE year 10 then.
Yeah, is that year 10? Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you formed then, but obviously that's been quite a while since Junodream. So what was it like? I read somewhere that some of you couldn't even like play the instruments yet. So was it quite frustrating, kind of getting up to that level, or was it quite a fun experience? Or was it mixed?
I don't know if we can even play our instruments now properly. But it's kind of, yeah, I feel like the good thing about starting a band when you're young and you're surrounded by your friends is no one really has a clue what sounds good or what doesn't, especially not you. You know, we didn't have a clue. All we knew was that it was just really good fun. We could play live shows, which, you know, I'd love to go back and watch this as like one of our first shows, because I bet it would be absolutely crap. You know, I'm sure it'd be really, really rubbish. And actually, there are videos of, you know, I think my parents obviously took videos, and my sister's always taking videos and stuff. And like, kind of at the time, you're like, that's so sick. This is amazing. And then I don't know. It's like I kind of describe it's just like growing up, right? So like, if you're, you know, you have I don't know, like a Facebook profile picture when you're 14, which you think is really cool. Chances are, when you're 18, you're probably going to look back and be like, "Oh God, I sucked." And it's kind of like that with music, I think. Unless like again, like if you could be the Arctic Monkeys and you can, you know, just pick up an instrument when you're 15, and then literally a year later you've got one of the best albums ever. That's cool. But for a lot of other people, though, certainly for us, it was like we always thought we were really good, and then we always kind of, I think it was that like arrogance that kept us going through terrible stories like the ones I've already mentioned. but then I think, yeah, so we kind of got to a point where we really didn't like the music we were making, and we kind of just started again, and we sort of started Junodream as like a kind of, it was almost like no expectations of like trying to make it. It was more just kind of making music as friends, really properly for the first time, without any like other goals, like trying to get signed or all those things you do when you're younger. So it's literally kind of started out with quite nice intentions, and now all we want to do is get signed. No, I'm joking. Yeah, so I don't know. It's a learning curve. I think it's like, I think the problem for musicians nowadays is like, it is. I think a lot of people take this for granted as well. It's a lot of work. Like, you know, to even like start a project is really hard. To like find the people, to find the space, to like save up all your money, and like work in the holidays to get, you know, the instruments you need, or the fuel money to go play a show somewhere in Scotland, for instance, and then like working out how to sort of advertise yourself and like make videos and record and all of this shit. It's like it's like a pretty complex process to try and like navigate yourself. And it's also like, it's not like starting a company where like, you know, worst case scenario, no one buys your product. It's like you put yourself on the line, and like your integrity as a person at quite a young age. I don't know, it's just like, it's just, the whole thing's like, it's quite a lot. I don't want to sound like a princess or like a prissy kind of, my life's so hard. It's not at all, but I think like looking back at like those early years when I don't think we like, you don't think of it at the time, but it's quite a lot of, I think it's quite a lot of pressure and lots of things. So I think like musicians in general, that every time I meet someone who's started a band and you know, they've grown a social media base and they're really entrepreneurial and they do it themselves, I really respect that, because it is kind of like starting a company, but you have to sing and you have to release emotional things.
Now I'm a liar, but lately
Who were your kind of inspirations, like growing up, almost like even before, if you can remember back, before like you started a band, as you were starting out, like, I mean, musical or like just otherwise really, but probably mainly musical.
Well, actually, it's interesting. So me and Tom, the guitarist, like they just both loved Robbie Williams when we were younger. Absolutely loved Robbie Williams. It was the "Sing When You're Winning" album. That's a stonker. Then like, I think Ed, he's always had Ed's always had like a pretty sort of diverse taste in music. So I think he's always like, he had like quite a, he's probably he was the most trained out of all of us, because I think he played piano to a high level and was a great singer, and like, so he kind of knew all sorts of music, which was kind of cool. I mean, we all kind of started a band with a mutual love of Coldplay, which is quite funny. I think our emotional depth wasn't quite there, and I think like we didn't really come in as like music lovers to start. We just kind of wanted to start a band, and we didn't really know a huge amount about records. So our music education came about the other way. So it's like we started a band and then learned about music through that, rather than shut up. They're coming to get me. I'll live to fight another day.
Nice.
Yeah, so like I feel like we didn't know a huge amount about music and we just wanted to start a band. Then like, as we started the band, that's when we kind of started getting really into it, and like we just started sending each other loads of different things. And the thing about like, I feel like, you know, every music fan knows this, it's like once you kind of get a hit of something which is a bit obscure or different, you just kind of want to go further, and like it is like really addictive, and the sort of weirder it gets, the better it is almost sometimes. So soon enough, like we kind of found ourselves just really identifying with a certain type of music, which we all kind of agreed on, which was this kind of atmospheric thing I was talking about. I think we kind of realized that's the stuff that speaks to us all the most. So like, I guess like Pink Floyd and Radiohead and Godspeed You Black Emperor and all of those artists. And so that's kind of what we started doing Junodream, I guess. It's kind of channeling that stuff. Yeah, other artists. I mean, God, I don't know. There's so many. I think we got a lot of pop songs we love from I feel like the early 2000s was a great time for pop. Like turn the 90s, 2000s. You had like William Orbit. Do you know him?
I don't, unfortunately. I wouldn't say 2000s pop is my forte.
Oh no, that's fair enough. You're probably the twinkle in your mother's eye. William Orbit was like a producer, so he did Madonna's Ray of Light. He did like do you know that song Pure Shores by the Beach? That like classic. Oh, you got to check all these out. I am quite old. I mean, I was like a little, barely remember some of these on the radio, and I was like, cool. But anyway, went back to them recently, and the production's awesome. We also really like people like 07. Don't know if you know 07. They're like chill out kind of Ibiza type people.
Okay, I'm not really familiar with that.
Yeah, or Air. Do you know Air?
Again, no, sorry.
Stuff. I mean, I feel a bit disconnected with our current pop. I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't know. It's gone in an interesting direction. On one hand, I'm quite happy because like 2010s have been like the decade of rap, and I'm really happy about that, to be honest. I feel like it's good to see it finally breaking through. There's some really interesting stats about like the percentage of top 100 songs that have been rap songs, and how it's just completely like overtaken all the other genres, which is nice. But I think there's some kind of element of nostalgia as well, because I'm seeing a lot of people online now saying about how much they love 2010 era stuff, and all the kind of like cheesy hits from then, you know, like Katy Perry Firework, Dynamite by Teo Cruz, like Flow Rider, and
Dynamite, that's a throwback, bloody hell. I think
and all that kind of stuff.
The rap thing you said is really, I think the rap thing's really good actually. A lot of someone says rap is the new rock and roll, which is so true, because it's like really exciting. So many people change it and chop it and turn it into like something completely their own, yet it's still really mainstream, which is kind of like what rock was like. And I think that's really good for rock music. I find it really annoying when people are like, oh, no one likes rock music, because it became really bland, and that, you know, it was right for something a lot more interesting to come in and just take the top spot. So I think it's well deserved. And I think the good thing about that as well is it means that like bands, in order for bands to get to like a level where people have heard of them now, the quality is so high. You've got to be so good now.
Yeah.
Which I don't think is a bad thing. I don't think it's like, I think obviously it'd be great if we all lived in the 90s and like if you're a band, you just sort of say you're a band and someone would sign you for £1 million. Like I'm sure that would have been good fun. But I think we live in a cool time, a brilliant time now, where I just think you've got to be so unique, and if you're individual, and you know, all you've got to tick every single box, and if you don't, then well, you'll know about it.
Should I know? I wanna go home.
I feel like bands, merch and stuff, I feel like it would be great to see them diversify a bit more.
Not just a t-shirt.
Yeah, I mean, I saw you guys had a mug, and I actually really quite liked that mug. And obviously, I'm doing a lot of buying, you know, random household objects for going up to uni. So I honestly might buy that mug because it looks like
it's cheap as well.
it was a reasonably priced mug.
Good thing about mugs as well is, well, I don't know about your family, but my family, you know, not sort of family have like a pristine collection of anything really. Everything's kind of mismatched, including socks and like cutlery and stuff. And we've got mugs from, like, my dad still got mugs he had from like the 90s and stuff. That the thing behind the mugs is they're good fun, but it's also like, who throws away a mug? Even if we just, you know, no one ever hears about Junodream. I think it's kind of hilarious that someone someday might be drinking out of Junodream mug in like 50 years time.
Yeah, and it would just end up in the most like random place, you know. Mugs just, we have some mugs and like, where did we get this? Why do we have this? But yeah, they can get around.
Yeah, mug stick. Maybe. Well, why don't I tell you what? We could send you a bulk batch of mugs, and you can just sort of dispense them around uni. That could be quite good.
That would be a great. I would be so on board for that. That would be a great like advertising campaign.
I'll speak to the others about that. Look at me, I'm always marketing. I'm such a
maybe even like get the Spotify code or whatever. Put that on the bottom.
Wow, now that's
Scan it,
a step ahead of us.
and you get onto a band's page.
Well, we've sort of printed them now. That's annoying.
Oh, stickers.
We need you on a commercial team.
I would be happy anytime.
Yeah, stickers, QR stickers. Bloody hell, that's amazing. Problem with merch though is like that you mentioned like bands making money from merch. If you're a new band, and we've realised this, not because we've been trying to sell loads of merch, but our engagement with fans is quite a precious thing, right? And it's a tricky thing to find a balance with, because like nowadays you want to sort of establish a community of people who feel like, you know, they get you and you get them, and like that's really fun, and that's the sort of beauty of being a fan. But then when the engagement sort of doesn't go so well, we've realized is when you start like trying to push too much. So like if people suddenly realize that you've actually got a commercial agenda behind you, then they're not that interested. So it's tricky for starting bands, because as you say, like, okay, to make money, what do you do? Well, streaming, I mean, like, it's like you make, I don't know, like $4,000 from 1 million streams, which once you kind of divvy that up between like 5 people and a manager, and like even getting 1 million streams in the first place is bloody hard to do as a band. It's like definitely. it's not a viable option for a band really to run. So then like, well, you could sell mugs, but if you try and push the mugs too much, and everyone's going to be like, I don't want to buy your shit. I just like I prefer you. You know, I just want to hear about you guys. Like, stop trying to sell me shit.
Yeah.
So it's a tricky balance to find. But I don't know. Yeah, hopefully we find it.
Yeah, I mean, also in regards to merch, I think, yeah, like I said, diversifying merch. This is just in general. This isn't really applicable to you guys, but I feel like it would be so awesome because there's so many t-shirts now, and I'm kind of getting to one where, you know, I've got so many t-shirts, so many band t-shirts. Like, can I really like justify getting more? But stuff like, I've been, you know, shopping for a tea towel. Imagine if, you know, I could get a tea towel made by, you know, a band I enjoyed, you know, sponsored tea towel, or like shoes. Or like trousers, you know, anything, because it's all up here. It's all up here with the merch, but you know, there's a lot more clothing out there.
You want to party at the bottom as well? Yeah, I okay, let's spitball some merch ideas. So we got tea towel, shoes, trousers. I really like badges. I think you can get some really neat like little pins. So it's not so much the merch. You can kind of just stick it on anything. Like the sort of classic, like you either have like the sew-on ones, like you sort of get if you're in the army or something, or
like a pump.
Yeah, or like the metal pins, I think.
Yeah, those ones go on bags, jackets, all works.
You got it, man. You got it.
Possibilities are endless.
I always thought things like, I don't know, like the packaging is really cool as well. Like, I feel like there's such an opportunity with packaging. I don't know, like packaging things in like, I don't know, like Junodream related milk cartons, or I don't know, whatever it is. Well, that's cool. That. So I've got tea towel, shoes, trousers, badges, pins,
scarves.
Scarf.
A bomb, you know, Junodream scarf.
Where do you sit on masks?
Masks.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a. I mean, like obviously we're a necessity, so it's nice to have a kind of cool fashion, you know, fashionable mask. But then again, there's another part of me was like, are people really, you know, like making a status symbol out of masks? So it's a bit like, but I reckon that's the dilemma, isn't it?
I think the problem with it is it's quite opportunistic. I'm going to write it down there.
Yeah.
But we never really thought about it, but it came up in conversation. We all thought it's probably like the least sensitive thing to do in a time of like international crisis, to suddenly start turning it into a merchandise opportunity. So we avoided it.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's
ambassador.
I'll start a society, the Junodream Society, at uni. That it'll be amazing.
I'll tell you what, if
So
you can
many
get
members.
anyone to sign up to the Junodream Society at Sheffield, then you can have free tickets for life. That is my word. You have my word.
What? Okay, now that is a great deal. We'll have a stall. We'll have like balloons, leaflets, and everything.
Free tickets for life, and you can.
Oh,
Amazing.
yeah. Well, thank you for coming on here. It's been a really fun time. I know you must be relatively busy right now. I'm not really sure, but yeah.
Just lots of bands related things. Always to do. So, have I frozen? I feel like I'm frozen.
Yeah, you had frozen, but I think I got the gist.
Yeah. Just lots of shit, so much stuff. We work at pretty unconventional hours, so it's like, I don't know, we sort of work from 9 till, I don't know, I've got lots of things to do this evening which are band related, so I don't even know when I'll go to bed. But no, it's nice. It's always nice to talk about it and talk about records and meet people. So excited to hear this, and hi to your listeners. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for coming on, and yeah, to the listeners, hopefully you made it this far. Hopefully we were interested enough to keep you listening. Yeah, so it's either going to be a video or just audio. I'm not sure yet. But yeah, thank you very much for coming on. Go listen to Junodream, stream Easy Life, buy the mugs. Tea towels coming soon.
Tea towels on its way, and join the society.
And join
Sheffield.
Join the Sheffield Junodream Society. Logo coming soon.
Logo imminent.